We're gonna dive right in with our first question. The weirdest weapon in D&D, and how we're gonna do this is I'm gonna select 3 people at random. So, Taylor, you're first.
Okay. For real?
For real.
Okay, well, I'm kind of an improvised weapon kind of lady, so the weirdest weapon in D&D is whatever I'm ripping out of the environment to hit you with. That's what I'm talking about. But realistically, I play my own game system on my podcast most of the time, so the weapons get real weird because D&D wasn't weird enough for me, so here we are.
All right. Matt, you're next.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, you have the bike.
I'm actually more of a Cypher System player, and I really like Cypher System. Please don't attack me or hurt me. If I were to say what is the weirdest item in Cypher, I really like the gravity spike. The gravity spike is a Cypher which, when activated, will not move in space and in time. And so it actually tears a hole in space and in time. And I gotta say, that is one of the most fun things to GM. When my players pull that thing out, it's just everything, all the stops are pulled out as well. So that's what I would say.
Amazing. I saw some nods over here for the second. So, yeah. And Chili Carmen.
So, going back to D&D, I'd say, I'm not sure, I'd say weird isn't interesting. That would be the whip, because I think it should be used more often. Like, it extends your reach. It's not the most damaging thing out there, but you can create Idaho Bones, Indiana Jones-inspired bugbear, and go absolutely ham, and nothing can stop you. And that's with the power of a whip. And now you have, like, what, 15 feet of reach? Which is way more reach than anyone should have.
Yeah. All right, so that means that those of us that didn't answer the first question will now answer this one. So Dot, you're up first. Ready?
Sure.
Have you ever punished your dice for bad rolls, and how far did you go to teach them a lesson?
My goodness, it's very personal for us. Well, on a PG level, yes, I have punished my dice. The farthest that I've ever gone.
No, PG level, remember?
PG level, okay. I learned to play D&D thanks to my combat professor from college. He was like, oh, you like swinging swords? And I was like, yes, I do. He's like, why don't you come play pretend with me and swing swords in this game? So I used to meet up with him and a bunch of people in the park in Savannah, and we would play with real weapons, and then we would play D&D. And I remember when we got angry at our dice, we would bury them, literally, in the park dirt. We used to have a thing where we would create these little graves in the park dirt to punish our dice. We would literally lay them to rest.
Wow.
All dice were salvaged from the park in Savannah, and no, we did not pollute.
You've just given me a great marketing idea, dice that have little seeds.
Oh my gosh, you can actually plant them?
Yeah!
Oh, really? Somebody make this happen.
Right?
Put my face on your poster, okay?
Okay. Rosie, how about you?
I don't believe in dice incarceration. I believe in dice rehabilitation. So, I have a little tropical island that my dice aren't behaving how I want them to. I just set them there for a little bit. It's actually a product of our friend Ariel.
Yes.
Has a fantastic big knackery who makes that wonderful pleasure. Little shout out there. But she has tropical islands, little alpine getaways. And then they come back once they've had a little time to relax and realize their errors.
Oh, it's like a vacation. They just needed like a break. Oh, so we're burned out.
No bad dice, only bad stories. Absolutely.
Yeah, shout out to Ariel. If you haven't stopped by her booth, she actually has a booth down on the floor, so check it out tomorrow. She's probably sleeping already. And let's see, I am the last one to go for this one. So, I don't really punish my diet. I'm really boring in this one, but I am the person who won't just not use that D20 because I'm the matched set kind of person. So if the D20 is acting up, the whole set has to go because the whole set needs to just.
Oh, you don't look at your red D20 and you're like, make me replace you with green.
No, I have to replace the whole set, so it keeps them all in line.
You are going in the
You have to keep them. That's like serious
one sentence answer?
What's that?
May I chime in with one?
Absolutely.
I eat them.
Oh, no.
The gummy legs. I mean, that could be more of a punishment for you, but depends on, like, is it a D4 or what?
Oh.
I did have a Kickstarter that was an ice dice mold. I don't know if anybody saw that, but I have an ice dice mold, and so I can just make D20s, and then if they don't behave, I can melt them.
Melt them down.
Yeah, melt them
The
down.
long answer is I have gummy dice that look like my regular dice. If the regular dice are misbehaving, I show them what could happen.
Little threatening.
I like that. All right. So, getting a little more serious with this question. Yeah, so this one, we're actually going to start, let's see, I picked 3 random ones again. So Dot, we're going to start with you again. How do you handle balancing a psionic with the rest of the party?
Balance.
I heard somebody say you don't.
Yeah, well, first off, if you're bringing a psionic into my, like, high fantasy game, I'm like, well, why? Can we just go, like, play a sci-fi game or a world in which that fits better? Like, as a GM, that's my first thing is, like, is it right for this game? And I talk to my players a lot about that, actually. But if I had to, if I said, yes, okay, I tend to find that when my players want to play something extremely unique like that, it's because they're looking for an opportunity to shine, or they have a story they want to tell with that piece. So it makes it more purposeful for them and makes it feel more special if I write something unique to them. So instead of going, okay, you want to play a psionic, but why? What's the deeper reason? So if I was to have to find balance at the table and I had to do it, we'd have a very long sit down. It's like, what do you really want from this character? And I tie that in a way where instead of being a whole race of psionics, right, or a whole group of psionics that are in this world, maybe they're just one of a few, or the only one, so that I can give them whatever it is that they're looking for in that desperate need to have something different than everybody else.
Fair enough. Taylor.
Well, I have to deal with this every time I play because there are 2 of us and the other one is that way. And you know, if you're best friends, it can be great. Like, it's a vibe. You're definitely kind of riding their coattails and benefiting from their incredible power. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you don't have a whole lot going on up here, they can't really farm that much out of you anyway. And that's sort of what I'm dealing with most of the time. So, you know, they can knock, but if no one's home, the balance is already there.
All right, and I pulled myself for this one. I don't GM a lot. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm like a baby GM. I've been playing for over 15 years, but in those 15 years, I've probably only GM'd maybe 5 times. So balance isn't something that I do a lot. However, I've played the psionic before, and I absolutely broke the game. I would be like, I think that enemy is dead, and the DM would be like, crap. I was not a favorite of that DM.
You handle psionics really well. If y'all are looking for inspiration, I know this isn't, like, it's relevant, but it's not. Philip K. Dick writes some of the best short stories, novellas, and novels. I'm sure y'all know, like Blade Runner and some of these very famous things, right? His short stories handle a lot of psionic stuff, and he creates incredible worlds in which those psionics do not feel overpowered. So there's like psionics and then there's anti-psionics. People that actually can cancel out what they do. Like, the world is balanced in a way. He's created it in a way where they don't feel like they can just say, well, I win, you know. Find some inspiration in his work.
There you go. All right, so the next question also came from the same person because I like it, so we're going to use it. So, Matt, we're going to start with you. What adventure video game RPG would you want to base a D&D or TTRPG campaign in, and what is the objective?
A D&D campaign?
Or TTRPG. So it could be
this is hands. So I would either, of course, if this is okay to say, I would choose my own homebrew world. But since that's probably not a touchstone for anyone here, I'm going to say Numenera. To me, to be honest, I think Numenera, to me, there is something about Numenera that really caught me. And the world is so beautifully textured, and I guess this is kind of this is a Monty Cook thing, but the world is so textured and yet so open. I feel like, and I think maybe this was sort of the plan with Numenera, but it didn't quite take off the way that maybe he had hoped it had. I thought Numenera was supposed to be kind of like a sci-fi fantasy kind of rival to D&D in a way. It's for me, what I really like about Numenera is they've got so many layers. I mean, for anyone that's played it, it takes place in a billion years in the future in a world known as the Ninth World, and that is actually our world. But there have been 9 civilizations that have risen and fell since. And what I like about that is that there's so much opportunity to just make stuff up off the cuff, and yet it still has a very strong and distinct flavor to it. So if I were, I mean, honestly, one of the best campaigns I ever ran was Numenera. I ran it for about 2 years or so, and I got to know that world so well. I really loved it, and if I could add an answer for a question that hasn't been asked, if I could live in a tabletop setting, I would want to live in the Ninth World. I love Numenera very, very much.
Amazing. All right, Chili Carpet.
Could you restate the question?
Absolutely. What video game adventure RPG would you want to base a D&D or TTRPG campaign in, and what is the objective?
This is going to be a little bit of a cheat because it's a video game that's based on an anime.
Oh, okay.
But I am a massive fan of Made in Abyss, the game I'm currently planning on running this summer. I'm taking Made in Abyss, remixing it a little bit so anyone who's watched the show would recognize it, and then translating it into Cypher. So I'm already kind of working on translating that, and I really love it because, so the original story of the anime, you can tell it was kind of created to be a video game where it sort of has levels and levels in the way you descend into the world. So the world itself is already crafted for that kind of experience. But then at the same time, there's so many ways I can imagine translating different aspects of the world and its quote-unquote magic system into a TTRPG thing where it's very easy for a person to just insert themselves and go on this adventure, even if it's absolutely horrifying.
Rosie.
Ooh, I think if we're gonna do this, we're gonna go big, and I would love to see something around Final Fantasy XIV. That map is huge, that world is gorgeous. It even has a lot of the same classes as D&D, so I can see that translation being pretty easy. But I just think it would be so wonderful to explore because part of the inherent playthrough of that game is that you're leading your own adventure, your own character story already within a wider world event that keeps happening and interrupting the things that your character wants to do, and you have to deal with that. But just there's already so much rich lore. There is so much lore in that game, and to bring that to a space where you could introduce your own stories and your own lore and your own take on it, I just think would be a beautiful thing.
All right. Okay, so the next question, I am deliberately picking Taylor for this one because I think we need to answer it.
Okay.
All right.
Is it about Taco
It
Bell?
has been decided.
Taylor,
Those are one of my 3 interests, so.
why did bearfolk become the best, most powerful, and most handsome race in D&D?
I mean, you're looking at the answer. I just spilled the water.
No, you didn't. I didn't see anything.
Listen. I mean, for the past 3 years, I have been playing a bear. Not in the way that you think, but maybe. Unknown. What was the age limit on the sign? 13?
13
Anyway.
plus.
Oh my God. So I'm a human bear in my podcast. You're gonna have to listen to find out what that means. Bears are incredible, okay? They can reach everything. There's enough space inside a bear to fit whatever you want to eat, so you don't have to stop with one meal. You could do 4 at a time. This is the life that you could be living. You're completely overpowered. Nobody's gonna get in your way. Nothing fits you, so you never have to wear clothes again. That means hard pants are out. I mean, like, everything has to be modified for you, so everything that you have is incredible, your weapons are amazing, you're super cute. If anything gets stuck in your hair, it doesn't matter because you're covered in grease anyway, which is a thing you manufacture, by the way, and it stinks, it's disgusting, it's the ultimate, like, improvised weapon. Bears are the best. Bears are the best. If we have to pick something right now, it doesn't matter what the question is, the answer is bears. Thank you.
Actually, we don't need anybody else to answer this question.
That's the platform that I'll be running on, so if you want a sticker of that, let me know. Got it.
Vote Taylor.
Thank you.
All right.
For bear.
Moving on to our next question. Rosie,
Oh gosh.
favorite non-D&D system?
Ooh, I am absolutely going to go with Tea Time Adventures, which is an indie title by Snowbird Studios, who's here at PAX East. It is very rules light. It has a lot of the same mechanics as D&D, but none of the combat. You have to solve everything through puzzles or just talking it out, which is lovely and fun. And having played through a lot of their modules, it is just lovely and soft. If you're looking for just lovely little woodland characters, the species are deer folk, frog folk, bird folk. It is so soft and gentle, and they're adding on to it, which is the best because I want more, always. But it is just so much fun. It is a good platform if you want to do storytelling as storytelling. It is so rules and mechanics like you really get to guide where the story goes with your players. And as a player, you get to decide everything your character does. It is very much narrative driven and character driven.
All right. Matt, you already sort of answered this one, but I'm going to have you go next.
Well, at the risk of being kind of redundant here and answering,
You have to pick anything other than cyber system.
is there anything other than cyber system? Isn't this the Cyber East?
Yes, this is Cyber East 2023.
Am I in the wrong convention?
Sorry,
Well,
no, this is that.
can I make a case for my Lord and Savior Cypher system? Would you like to hear? So I'm an English teacher, and I don't know if my viewers know that. And for 20 years, I've taught my students, I like to think, how to communicate. And I apologize, I'm probably getting a little heavy here, but one thing I really enjoy about Cypher System is that you build your character, you are promoted based on, it incentivizes good, interesting narrative and storytelling. And to me, even just life, just people, we are all storytellers. Like, even the most simplest level, you ask someone where the Condor Theater is, and you have to make that clear. You have to have a clear beginning, middle, and end. The person has to answer you and let you know. And what I really enjoy about Cypher is that you can't play it and not tell a story, even if you're just simply building a character. And so for those of you that maybe don't know, characters are basically broken up into three things. You have your type, which is something like warrior, adept, or like explorer. You have something called a descriptor, which will tell you whether you're like an angry explorer, you're a vengeful warrior, and then you have something called a foci, which is who wields two weapons or who fights with panache. And so what you do is it's like a slot machine, and you basically assemble your character in that way, shape, or form. And just by building your character in and of itself, you're telling a story, and in a way, you're sort of giving yourself some sort of motivation. And so, we're kind of joking, or I was sort of joking earlier that I was shifting everything from Cypher or from D&D to Cypher, but the truth is it appeals to the storyteller in me. And ultimately, when I sit down with my friends to play, which I would imagine everybody here does that, I want to laugh and tell stories. I want to make memories in my head. I want to be able to talk about it in 5, 10, 20 years when we're just sitting around a fire as old people talking about that time we did such and such. And so for me, that's why I do enjoy Cypher System. To be fair, to other systems I love Powered by the Apocalypse. I find that Powered by the Apocalypse is a good system for that as well. And yeah, so that is another answer based around Cypher. Thank you. I'm glad I came to Cypher East. Very good to be here. Very good to be here.
Okay, and I pulled myself as the third person for this question. So I am working on becoming a Cypher convert myself. So I've been playing Cypher.
I have some literature for you. I can give you. Let me get it.
Did Matt pay
It's
you?
called the
or-
Cypher
He
Tower.
might have. You owe me $20, Matt.
It doesn't surprise me. I owe everybody.
And let's see, I've been playing a lot of like, smaller systems lately. I just GM'd my first Monster of the Week game recently. That was a lot of fun. I am obsessed with, I haven't actually gotten to play it yet, but I'm absolutely obsessed with 10 Candles. Like, just the coolest looking game. I mean, Stephen Dewey's here, like, you can check it out. Yeah, he's down on the show, well, not right now, but, I mean, he'll be back tomorrow. He's got a table here. And yeah, it's just a really, really cool looking system. So, yeah, and then, I'm supposed to be checking out Pathfinder 2nd Edition for the first time. I was playing 1st Edition when 2nd Edition came out, and so we just decided not to switch at the time, but yeah, so I like to play lots of stuff. I wouldn't even say like D&D is my favorite, I like a lot of different systems. All right, so next question, and this will go, we will start with Chili this time, Chili Carbon. Paladins and warlocks gain power from other powerful creatures, but could they gain power from self-reflection? And if so, are they a god?
Okay, so let me tell you the story of Gareth. Gareth was a warlock, a fathomless warlock who is in love with his patron. We're not going to detail it further than that. But over time, throughout the course of the campaign, he gradually discovered another side of himself. He discovered that he actually doesn't really like this woman that much, and he split off. But he lost his power for a little bit, but then later on he was able to get it back through realizing, wait, I love myself more than I love anyone else, which might not be the most positive character development, depending on your opinion. But
Yeah.
exactly. So was he a god? Probably not, but he certainly felt like one.
Doc, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so this is.
I can see you jumping at the
Yeah,
minute.
this is me like, I'm gonna have to think this one out loud, y'all, so I don't know if I have an answer, but I have some pontification for you. Okay, so if I become self-actualized in that I learn that I don't need the power of a patron to be a powerful woman, does that make me a god or goddess? By technical definition, no. But in here, and in here, hell yeah, I'm a goddess, right? Because I'm self-actualized, right? But it doesn't actually make me a god because I don't have god-like powers. But if you can get your powers from yourself, you're also still technically not a god, you're just your own patron, which is like a weird ego thing. Yeah, I think you can believe you are a god in your presence, in your power, but I don't think you can actually be one, because if anybody can self-actualize into godlike status, then why are we here? Right? And you're like, why would we even go to the gods? I think there has to be a divide, but yeah. That's my outright pontification.
I also think we call those sorcerers.
Yeah, then you're just a sorcerer, so that's also lost your identity to go along with it. So yeah.
Taylor, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the thing is like if I think about, when you're playing a warlock or a paladin, you're using something else as the excuse for why you're doing the things you're doing, right?
Oh, okay.
And to be fair, the amount of times that I have gone on a tirade of incredible misfortune, terrible decisions, and who was driving the car? That was me. And so, I mean, like, if that's what we're using, then I am already all of those things, and I have been driving this car in a really damaging and incredible way for a long time. You know, look behind me, there's like a lot of wreckage. So.
And like, what is a god?
That's the vibe.
Like, how do you even define?
Like, what's the context? What system are we playing?
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
100%. Today's the day. That's it. Do I want to be a god today? Maybe.
This is the rest of our panel.
Perhaps I am.
Not guaranteed.
This is where we've gone down the rabbit hole.
Yes, and me a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Oh gosh. All right. Rosie, we're gonna start with you for this one.
All right.
What is your weirdest D&D story, meaning strangest series of events?
There's so many. The most recent one, I have just started a Humblewood campaign with two of my very best friends. They play my adopted sons. We are a crow, a mouse, and a rooster, as you know, from a family unit. The crow is a grave cleric, very much into dead things. Her sons go hunting, she takes all the bones and skin. What does she do with those bones and skin? She makes jello, as one does. And because she makes jello, that is how she serves everything. We're gonna have cranberry juice, no, it's jello now. Because I'm a bird, my son's a bird, we don't have lips or teeth to consume liquid, so jello, it's a solid, so it's easier for us to consume, and that has become such a thing in the plot of the story. Everywhere we go, gotta kill stuff so that we have plenty of jello.
The minute that you said birds don't have lips, I lost everything.
Yeah. Well, they don't, so they can't.
I'm not going to be able to do the rest of this panel.
We have spent hours researching how birds drink and eat.
I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it now.
of human birds.
Stuff like that. Do Humblewood bird folk take shots? Do they make jello? Like, how do birds drink in this world?
I feel like there's a button in everybody's brain where you can just, if you can find it, you can shut that person off. That was it.
I achieved my goal.
You'll just made me think of a great question, so we can save it for afterwards.
Yeah, I think that's the most like fun, sort of unusual thing that happened in recent D&D memory.
Your jello escapades.
I'm just seeing the bird lips.
Done.
Oh goodness, y'all. Oh boy, I don't even know what, I play so much tabletop. Okay, so something crazy, what was it, what are the exact words?
The exact words, what is the weirdest D&D story? Yeah.
Weirdest.
It was bird lips.
There was a body swap episode, that was a whole thing, but one of the weirdest things I ever did, and also most inventive at the table, I have to give it to my DM, I was a player, and they had a want to, we were playing Coriolis, for all you free league lovers out there, it's one of my favorite systems, favorite settings. And so we were playing Coriolis, and they had this idea that we got captured, surprise, surprise, and they put us under some kind of tech, but we didn't realize that. We showed up, and he handed us new character sheets for The Witcher. And I was like, did I show up to the wrong table? Am I in the wrong classroom? Like, what happened? And we were put into a virtual reality of The Witcher. And so our characters were not body, but mind and soul, the same thing. And we were trying to figure out how we ended up in this like fantasy world of The Witcher. It was a very like strange series of events. And when we were done and we came back out the other side, we got to carry over something that character or that person from the virtual reality realm knew back into our real world, which was cool. I was a dwarf surgeon, and so I got to come back with like general knowledge of medic stuff, which my character didn't have before. Nice. But it was very weird. I like showed up. I was like, what is going on? I was like, I don't know. This is not my character. I was like, when did I turn into a dwarf? And so it was like a whole thing. It was very weird. And then when we slowly figured out, we're like, oh, we're just in a body swap situation. We must be in it. And then it was a very exciting moment at the table. But it was real weird up to that point.
We did something similar in a game that I played once. We did, instead of something like that, though, it was a dream sequence. So we were playing a Pathfinder First Edition game, and while everybody was sleeping, we all had the same dream, and we woke up in a 5e game. So we were all the same, like I was playing a ranger at the time and stuff like that. So I was still a ranger, but like none of my skills worked the way I expected them to. And it was like, it was weird, but it was the coolest thing, because like, it felt kind of like how it works in a dream. Like, you're like, oh, this can't be reality. I can't walk on walls in reality. Things like that. But yeah, it was really the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Chili, tell us yours.
Okay, so this is not, it feels like the first time I played D&D was the first time I played D&D where I knew what I was doing. And my friend had asked me to play a guest character in his Wild West campaign, and I and another guy were going to be these surprise outlaws that pop up in the middle of the session to kind of interrupt this whole thing about like, the party was going to encounter some bandits in the boundaries, we were going to capture them, we were going to be like rival outlaws, but we're actually not on the side of anybody, we're our own people, right? Guy, and here I am, supposed to be the surprise, sitting in a closet with, I was a freshman in college at this time, and I was a senior. He was smoking something, and I was watching, and I was in the middle of watching the entirety of Invader Zim all over again. I was reaching another plane of reality in that closet, and once we emerged, I think that was the greatest RP I've ever done and will ever do since, and that's because I was already in a different world at the time.
Oh gosh, amazing.
Luna, may I intervene here? I feel this may be my moment.
Absolutely.
I really do. This is not a cypher story.
I was going to say, is it a cipher story?
This is, and moreover, this is a D&D story.
Oh my God, you better put it out there while you can.
Everybody, sit down by the fire, warm yourselves. So I told you I'm an English teacher, and one thing I do like to do is I play RPGs on Fridays with my 4th and 5th graders. And a few years ago, when I was first introducing, well, it's more than a few years ago, but when I was first introducing RPGs to my students, I thought it would be really fun to adapt some modules, some adventure modules for the kids, but I'd sort of forgotten what some of them were. And we were playing 5e actually, and I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with Frog God Games, but they have a setting/adventure known as Rapin Athic, which is a total party killer. It's just meant to like kill.
Yep. It's a girl.
And I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I ran this for my 4th and 5th graders? They're never gonna, this is gonna be so much fun. I love this, I love this. And, you know, I'm not the smartest, you talk to my mother, I am not the smartest guy in the world, but I thought it would be really funny. I thought, oh, I can introduce the students to the no-win scenario. They're gonna learn something, out of this. And I learned as I was taking them through this game, and I could see the watery eyes welling up. Oh, hold on, and I thought, do I really do this to them? Can I really do this? Can I really put them through the Kobayashi Maru? And at the last minute, I said, no, I'm not going to do it. And I fudged a whole bunch of rolls, and I helped him out. But I did try not to hold too much back, so I wanted to give him the Kobayashi Maru experience without the actual death. And so we ran it for like weeks and weeks and weeks, and later on, yeah, I couldn't kill them. They were just these little, they put them through this miserable little, it was so sad.
Did you have this internal conversation?
Those kids are traumatized.
Over months.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm sitting at a parent-teacher, well, here's the thing. I'm sitting at a parent-teacher conference, and the parent is like gleefully laughing. He's like, I love how you play RPGs, and this is really great. My kid's like so excited for English now, and the other day, he just kept giggling and pointing at his breakfast saying, I'm hungry for human flesh. And he did it like in the same voice. He's like, I've never heard the words human flesh so many times at our breakfast table. And it's like, oh, So,
At least they're cool about it.
that's me. Send me your kids.
You're on this
They'll
thing.
crave human flesh. Anyway, but I digress.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That was my moment, that's it. It's not any of that. That's it.
One fifth grader's life at a time, just changing it day by day.
All right, far end of the table. This is for all three of you because I feel like you are the most qualified to answer. What happens when a werewolf bites a zombie?
Well, what flavor is the zombie? What are we talking about?
Lime.
Oh my god, what happens when a werewolf bites a zombie? Okay, well, have you ever been to one of those like sideshow like antique shops and they've always got like a jar with like a baby eating its own legs or
Oh yeah, like it's something from Alabama.
you know what I'm talking about? This is a thing, like you guys have seen it, and I think it would be that. That's what happens.
Become something in a jar of formaldehyde?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just nobody's winning here. Nobody's winning. Nobody's winning. It's just a big, what's it called when you start eating your legs? Hamsters do it.
Oh, it does have a word.
It does.
Oh, this is real. This is real.
You're right. Yeah.
You know, one of you has the word in your body and you're not giving it up. That's okay. That's your business. But that's what would happen. That's what would happen. Right? What do you got?
You don't want to hear my answer.
You're right. It is, listen, it says 13 plus. So, you know.
I'm gonna get technical. All right, I'm gonna say zombies don't have a heartbeat, so they don't have blood flow. So lycanthropy being a disease could not propagate through the body. However, zombies I would consider diseased flesh, so I think the werewolf then becomes a zombie.
Zombie werewolf.
Zombie werewolf.
Yeah, it kind of depends on what I'm doing, right?
Yeah. But I mean, the question is werewolf and werewolf bites out.
Oh,
so-
So it just becomes a zombie.
one final take on this.
Yes.
The world's most unconventional way of making a new fursuit.
Oh, okay.
Because if the zombie's like already kind of like hollowed out on the inside, and then it's like turning into a werewolf, the more I think about this, the more I regret what I've said.
And I was leaning towards like, what's full moon kaiju size zombies? Like,
I like your thinking a lot more. I like your thinking a lot more. Let's stick with that.
This has like a whole spectrum of like time released power attached
It's
to
true.
it too.
Yeah.
Because if it's not that werewolf's day, then they
Yeah.
should have saved for that one.
They cancel each other out.
I don't know.
Oh my god, does it cure both of the problems?
Oh my
Because
goodness.
he's disease,
Everyone's
and the
fine.
other one's out.
This is the
We
cure.
just solved
Wait,
that.
this is how Last of Us ends.
Can you imagine that? Oh,
It's like
Christ.
Sorry, I'm sorry. So,
the zombie can't have really the werewolf curse, so it just turns back into a regular guy.
Right. It's like problem solved. Who
Everybody's
cares?
fine,
You just
but
solved
one
the
person
world's
coughs up a
biggest
hair.
problem, right?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
The big problems.
I'm going to throw this out because I kept using it as an example question. I'm not going to take this one from one that was asked, but I asked all of them this as like, oh, here's a sample of a question that we got when I used to run this as a stream, and I'm going to throw it out to all of you guys. What flavor is the gelatinous cube?
Key lime pie.
McDonald's Sprite.
Oh, with the big straw.
Yeah, with the straw, that carbonic acid, so you get the acid component on it.
You know.
And of course, they're lemon lime flavored.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, they say that's what Sprite is, but who's really
Who's monitor?
I always thought they taste like those Swedish fish,
You think about that a lot?
but they're not good for you. Well, not the Swedish fish are good for you either.
I'm pretty sure gelatinous cube isn't good for you either.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
I know one's got red 40 in it, that's about it.
But ironically, I actually, the gelatinous cubes in my D&D kids games at my school are nice, friendly.
Oh, like
Assistant.
school on Twitter?
And they have gelatinous cubes, which is food with the gelatinous cubes, and they follow them around. I'm not totally evil.
Where do they get
That's
that?
very cool.
I like that.
I just made it up. You're the DM, you can make anything.
You can do whatever you want. First of all, though, how dare you? Because I think Swedish fish on the bag says there's a vitamin in it.
A vitamin. Among all of the fish, there's one vitamin within one.
A vitamin. You gotta,
And that's what it says on the ingredients too, A vitamin.
you gotta figure out what the fish has got it.
Somewhere.
So
I think this too.
that's a vegetable. That's a vegetable. You know. But you know, gelatinous cube. What flavor is that? I think you gotta ask, like, what was in it? Like, how long's that goblin been here? Is that stage 8 decomp? Like, what are we talking?
Oh, interesting.
And what did that goblin have before the cube had it?
Right.
Oh, there's layers.
There's layers to that, and when you're in there, you're gonna find out real fast.
So you're saying Shrek is a gelatinous cube?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the flavor of the
I was
gelatinous
gonna
cube.
say, are you eating the gelatinous cube from within after you've been
It's like
eating,
a
or are you
pineapple.
eating it from without? Like, what's the direction that
And you kept eating, and you just like,
Oh, lime.
this is only 13 up, so that's for after.
Oh, man.
Well,
I hope you all enjoyed your dinner.
What flavor do you want that cube to be? You know what I mean?
Yeah, what flavor do you want it?
Add your own.
What color is the
you can
gelatinous?
request flavor.
What color is it? Yeah,
Just start
Rub a
shredding.
bunch of oranges into it before you
Start popping stuff. Please save us from this.
This is totally an aside, but I had a character one time who every time she was in camp, she would paint rocks to look like little eyes. And then finally her day came when they encountered a gelatinous cube and she threw them at the gelatinous cube and then it had googly eyes.
That's like in science when the kid leaves the water everywhere and you don't figure out why till the end. That was the point the whole time, all these years.
Yeah, right? You never know when they might come in.
You never know.
No, it's a true dungeon Roomba because my Papa Roomba has googly eyes.
It's true, it's true. All right, let's get back to the questions that we were asked. So, for the next one, Taylor, which spell name makes the best mixed drink? And why is it delayed blast fireball?
What spell name makes the best mixed drink? Oh, jeez. Tiny Hut, because that's where you're gonna have to go after you finish it. In the dark by yourself for a week. That's how I like them.
Actually, we do have some, like, there's been a running joke in my friend group about this drink called the Vicious Mockery. And over time, it started off as just like some random improv of my character goes into a bar, orders a drink, and I order a Vicious Mockery. And it's like, oh, you get back the citrusy thing. And when you get it, the first person you talk to, you cast Vicious Mockery on them. We turned it into an actual drink.
Yeah.
It's like an orange daiquiri. It's very good.
That sounds delicious.
That sounds like a great idea in a bar.
Yes,
Yeah.
Here's the thing, whenever I drink it, I'm in the mood to insult somebody right after.
Rosie, what do you think?
Oh goodness, I think Spare the Dying would be the last one you have before you go to bed. Hopefully it's something slightly hydrated. Or it's the hair of the dog you have the next morning.
You're gonna need to hit that one again.
I must say, Cobalt Press has this spell, y'all. It's called Eldritch Blast. It's part of our first Deep Magic book. I'm just saying.
Just throwing it out there.
Just throwing it out
In case anybody's...
there. Eldritch Blast. I'm just kidding.
Does that get cast by an eldritch dragon?
It can.
Yeah.
It can be cast by just about anybody that wants to take it. I think it's a cantrip too. So just, spell all over your friends.
Amazing. All right. This was a question that I just thought of a minute ago. Well, a few minutes ago, when we were talking about whether or not birds have lips.
They
Back on
do.
that again.
Yeah.
They do now.
What is the weirdest thing you've ever had to research for your game?
Oh boy. The amount of times, okay, I play a weapons master that is constantly making explosives, and I am always trying to figure out how to look up stuff about bombs. I can't believe I'm saying this on a hot mic in like a building. And it's just like, and I'm always like, oh, I shouldn't be Googling this, I shouldn't be Googling that, I shouldn't be Googling this at work, shouldn't be Googling this on my phone that's close to an airport, like just constantly.
The upside though is that you so it's less of an issue for you.
Yeah. not very
Or
traceable.
is it? Like, how many lists am I on? Every time they pull me out of the line and then they're like, hold on, we
Hold
need to
on,
do this.
wait.
And I'm like, is it because of the thing? Like, just let's talk about it, and it just never gets better.
You were on an you were on a flight to Boston when you were Googling bombs, like, we have to talk.
And I was drawing one, and I was like, really, I was Googling the bombs, and then I was drawing a bomb, and then I was like, well, what if you change the chemical? And it compounds. It's a big snowball. People love that one.
Anybody else have one that they want to share?
Yeah, okay, so when I was writing for this new Fallout RPG coming out, there were some cults involved, surprise, surprise. They didn't, oh, you know what, there are certain things I can talk about, fully under NDA anymore. So this is set in the Commonwealth, surprise, and the regular Fallout timeline, and it's all about the Children of Adam, which if you're a Fallout person, you know is like the big cult, right? So I got tasked with writing a lot of propaganda for this book, like pamphlets and things that the Children of Adam would be distributing around the Commonwealth. So I had to start doing research on cult propaganda. And so I started doing all this research on real life cults, the things that writing, right? The symbol, left back.
It happened.
And I have, this is of no offense, I found this one website. It was a Christian-based website, but its writing was so structurally the way that cult propaganda is written. I ended up using it as great inspiration, and for weeks, I was getting emails to join various spiritual places, synagogues, churches, because they had obviously, Google had been watching me or whatever from all of my surgery. Y'all, it took me weeks to clean out my inbox of people like wanted me to come live on some commune out somewhere. Like it was nuts. But yeah, it was all the cult research that I had to do, and not just about cults, but like how they do what they do through words, right? Which is really, really specific. And so I wrote a bunch of fake cult pamphlets for this new Fallout game coming. And it was like a downward spiral. I was like, somebody in the FBI is watching me now from all this cult bullshit.
Did you copy them at Staples too? You can get 5,000 of these printed up, please. Please.
Leave it on the track.
Do you like human flesh?
Yeah, it got kind of weird in there for a while.
No, you don't copy those at Staples. You do that one at like work.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's the worst. That is the worst. I was gonna say, this is the worst thing. Like sometimes it's like I'm on prep time, and so I've got some time, and of course everyone knows that when you're a teacher and you're also a game master, you want to use your prep time efficiently, and I'll be like sitting there and I'll start to Google something and I'll realize, oh yeah, the IT guys like look at this stuff all the time. I start like Googling cults or you know, whatever, like, it's not going to look very good on my upcoming, evaluation.
The IT guys must love it when it's time to go through your search history.
I do have to say though, I think again, I don't mean to get serious or whatever, but I mean, that's like the most fun. Like, I love like researching all this weird, obscure stuff, and then like, it's useless away from the table, but boy, it like adds a lot to the game.
I researched for the same project on people that have spliced human DNA with plant DNA. That's all I can tell you about that. That's not fully been revealed yet. And that's for real. It's like a thing. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. There's this big art project back in the 90s where this guy spliced real DNA with like orchids, and those orchids grew, and they actually had like veins and like DNA. It was very strange. Also weird. There's some weird things out there on the internet. And they can be great inspiration.
Don't check the images tab for that.
Right. Yeah, I know. I gotta erase my browser or go to private browser.
You gotta just start in income.
We all know that doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Just
Unless you're using
live
the
that life.
onion browser or whatever. Even then, I digress again.
What other weird stuff have y'all looked at behind closed doors?
Well,
Do you want a list?
I'm more careful with what I research for GMing than I am with what I foolishly just go onto in my own private time. Like that's like the thing, like that for me, it's kind of weird now that I think about it. I'm more concerned because the things that I'm researching for my games are like, I really want to like dazzle my players, and I want to sort of at the same time sort of introduce some new ideas and things like that to them. And a lot of times the research that I do is just into these bizarre things, and halfway through it I'll see my players who be like Googling stuff. And when they're Googling, like in my games, they're usually just like trying to figure out, like, what does this all link up to?
Yeah.
And they can sometimes figure out, because a lot of my games are historical or based in history, and so they'll look stuff up and they can almost get like cheat codes just from like looking up the stuff, the intersections between where my game hits reality, and they can kind of like...
History games are weird like that though. Like I played in at Fate, love Fate as a system. We played in we were SOE agents in the middle of occupied Paris in early World War, like 1942, World War II. So recently, the SOE handbook, which has been closed and behind locked documentation, has never been available to the public until recently. And they printed the SOE handbook, which was the handbook that all SOE agents, like based everything they did undercover, or behind enemy lines on. And same thing, I was like, I'm gonna get a copy. And so I bought a copy of it. I started reading the SOE handbooks, and when we were playing, I was like, we would have done it like this. And Gia was like, just burn that book, but don't really take a long time to get it. Put it away. But it was great. I love the historical stuff.
Shirley, I want to make sure you get to say something because you look like you're starting to say something.
Yeah, so I have both the best and the worst players imaginable because they're college student engineers.
You play with engineers.
I play with engineers. They invent things and they expect me to know how to work. the computer science and business major. Oof.
Oh. Yeah.
So once in a while, I will quite literally wake up to a series of blueprints in Discord and being like, hey, how can we make this? And I'm like, I'm just gonna roll some dice real quick and pretend I know what I'm doing.
How can we make this? You did, good job.
You did it. You obviously have put 12 hours of your time into modeling this thing in CAD. It looks like it's ready for the 3D printer and possibly even for whatever metal machining stuff you have in the workshop. You know what? I think it's enough commitment here to say that you can have it. You can have it. It's actually never meant to run an iPad.
That's it. They're other.
Because my players are also GMs themselves. I'm nice.
Yeah.
So they create the most batshit stuff, but it's also already balanced.
That's really nice.
I love them so much, but they terrify me.
Amazing. We are almost out of time, so I want to make sure we get a chance for everybody to remind us of who you are and where we can find you around the interwebs, and if there's anything else you want to say before we head out. So, Rosie, we're going to start with you and we'll work our way back this way again.
Okay, once again, I'm Rosie, Sweet Rosie B, just about everywhere on the internet. I am a professional GM, I am a TTRPG performer with Girls Run These Worlds, and I am a showrunner. I'm working on a new Spelljammer show, very excited about that. We'll be casting soon. But always available for questions, inquiries, and overall just fun.
So once again, I'm Matt Yancik, and so you can find me on YouTube at Manufactured Myth and Ledger Domain. I do a ton of interviews there. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I am CatWalks99, and just between you guys and me, I crave human flesh.
Awesome. Just gonna move my chair over.
I'm a werewolf.
Yeah, cool. That's cool to know. I'm Tay, and you can find me on the internet. But the easiest way to do that is to look up Backwater Bastards, which is a podcast, but it's also a website, backwaterbastards.com. And it's everywhere that you get your podcasts and all over the internet. BW Bastards on Twitter. But yeah, it's a sci-fi comedy improv podcast, and it is the greatest best friend story in the universe. So if you like best friends, who doesn't? It's my favorite thing. I'm constantly trying to make everything my best friend, so I made a show about it, and it's 5 years old. So
Guess what? Bowler Tay's best friend now.
I mean, let's do that thing. Let's make it happen. It does cost a sticker, just like being really upfront about it. I have needs. Yeah, that's me. I'm on the internet. Let's do the thing. Next.
Hi, once again, I am Chili Carbon Self-Care Bugbear. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch as Chili Carbon, where I do TTRPG related art, talk TTRPGs, art in general, and about life. I just like providing a space for people to hang out with a fellow nerd without necessarily going all into the hobby all the time.
Nice. Hey everybody, I'm Dot. You can find me online as Little Red Dot. We are Little Red Dot Robots Are Found, mostly over at Cobalt Press. I'm their marketing director, and the rest of my time is spent with my podcast network, Pod by Night. You can check that out as well. And get your grubby little paws on that fresh Modifius book for Fallout when it drops here in a couple of months. Everybody is going to be dope.
And I am GamerMomLuna. This has been Tales from the Tavern. Thank you all so much for coming and hanging out tonight. You can find me on social media at GamerMomLuna. You can also find me at shadowmain.com, SHADOMAIN.com. And we will all be hanging out in the hallway in a little bit. If you want to talk to anybody real quick afterwards, stop by, say hi, trade stickers, look for Tay, and yeah, we'll see you all later. Thanks so much for coming by. Have a great night.